Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Good afternoon to our viewers. Afternoon, evening, maybe morning, where you at. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Dr. Oshin Fisan. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm a mindset strategist. I'm an author, and I'm a speaker. So, welcome to today's mental health series, Talk with Dr. Tiwa. Today, we'll be discussing how to cope with grief during the holidays. This is a topic that is dear to my heart because a lot of people struggle with this. Grief is one thing, but during the holidays, what do we do? We're not talking about it. Grief, it could be, suck it up or whatever it is. So today promises to be a robust day. You're going to leave with practical tools. I have a speaker here that you're going to realize why she's the right person to discuss this topic. So, if there's someone you need to call, let them know to join us live. Who needs to hear this? Have your paper, your pen, your cup of tea, whatever you need to be comfortable. But tell others right now that it's time to join. And we look forward to teaching, educating, and equipping you. All right, we'll go right in. Dr. Foster, it's a pleasure to have you with me. I'm gonna go between Dr. Ojia, Dr. Foster, So, but maybe I'll just go with Dr. Ojia. That may be the easier one for me. The speaker, I'm going to read a bio, but before then, welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to have you.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a genuine pleasure and honor to be partnering with you on any level to talk about coping with grief in the holidays. It's a very, very sensitive and important topic. So I'm here for everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Alrighty, so Dr. Ojia Foster is a physician,
That's
author,
right.
and public health advocate who helps people and organizations turn grief into steady practice. She founded the Foster Nexus Group, a main campus for healing, innovation, and education. Ojia works with HNI's foundations on grief literacy, workforce, steadiness, and behavioral health initiatives. She speaks on the grieving economy and its direct link to today's mental health crisis. Her book, When the Earth Breaks, is a compassionate guide drawn from lived experience, part memoir, part public health manifesto, showing readers how to navigate loss, restore rhythm, and rebuild life with calm and clarity. It anchors her broader mission to make healing practical, measurable, and accessible to everyone. So it is with great pleasure to welcome again Dr. Ojia Foster. Welcome,
Thank you
welcome,
so much for having me here. It's my
welcome,
pleasure.
welcome. All right, we'll dive in. We have a lot to cover in a short time. So I'll start by saying on social media, or your nickname is Dr. Sweetness.
Well,
That, automatically I'm smiling, and others that hear your name smile. How did that name come about? And what does it represent to your work?
okay, so it was a nickname given to me by a dear friend, Amaomi. This was years and years ago. She had experienced me and she was like, "Oh my God, you're genuinely sweet. And I should name you Dr. Sweetness." And it just stuck. And it kind of signifies like even when life is bitter, I bring the sweetness into the room. I kind of try to live a life that flourishes and flows through others, any form of sweetness to, heal their lives, especially those who have been through the darkness. And that's my little sweetness story.
Oh, no, that's nice. It's a nice name. And
Thank
especially
you.
with your mission and what you do, it sounds like the right name.
Thank
that
you so much.
we leave people after they come with their grief, and after experiencing you, they live with sweetness. So it sounds like the perfect thing that we're looking for, with all the bitterness that we are dealing with. So you've spent years helping people, especially with your mission, your work. What inspired your passion? How did we get here?
Okay, so I certainly did not choose grief walk from a textbook. Life chose that for me. And my own losses plus what I witnessed as a doctor showed me how many people are walking around with patches on the outside, but they're genuinely shattered on the inside. And one day I decided I'm not only going to treat bodies and ignore broken hearts. From there, everything I do is about helping people find language, structure, and hope when life has broken their rhythm. So I try as much as possible to apply, because sometimes it's easy to read things off the textbook or just be a straight textbook doctor. But in reality, the real life experiences are not taught in school. You have to now have to create like in a space for people to be comfortable, to be vulnerable in, without actual judgment. So that's what drives this part of my journey.
Thanks for sharing. And I like what you said. Sad, but like you said, even though you're a physician, it was a different path that you had chosen, but this is a path that that chose you,
Yeah.
and you didn't ask for it, but you're making the best of it. So thanks for sharing.
Thank
Grief,
you.
grief. So for someone listening to us, Dr. Ojia, that is like grief. My grief is different. My grief um is different. How grief takes many shapes, from losing loved ones to losing dreams or shattered hopes, losing connection. How would you define grief to someone that is not sure? Am I even, so am I even still going through grief? I thought I was over it. It happened 20 years ago. Um, is it still grief? What do I call this? What would you say?
So grief is love with nowhere familiar to go. It's uninterpreted love, pretty much. It's that ache that, oh, this mattered, mixed with my life has changed forever. It happens when we lose a person, a dream, a version of ourselves, or even like a sense of safety. Anywhere your heart has been attached, grief can visit. So it might be an attachment with work, it might be an attachment with school, and then something changes. That's grief. Grief doesn't have to be a placard of, oh, that person lost a brother, that person lost a mother. It comes in any form. Little losses, changes, unfamiliar grounds. When you're in an unfamiliar ground and it hurts, that is grief. you know
Wow. Wow. Thank you for clarifying that. Need to check my audio. It seems like a minute and echoing. So
okay.
I need to make sure that echo there.
Okay, I think I heard that now.
Yeah. At times I hear it. Not sure where it's coming from, but hopefully it goes away. But we'll keep checking on it. But
Okay.
I'm glad about what you said with grief. A lot of people focus on it only being associated with death, a loss of a loved
Yeah.
one. But grief is really
It's way broader than that.
it's broader, and it's a loss of expectation. It's a
Pretty
loss of an
much.
outcome, pretty much. So that include a person that you thought would be here with you in body that is gone? Is it a disease? Is it a job loss? Is it a relationship loss? Like just a loss of an expectation,
Pretty
loss of
much.
an outcome. So I like the way you capture that, so that it takes on even a broader shape, broader audience.
True.
That while we're going to help someone that has lost someone, but again, even if you've lost an expectation, this conversation also applies to you. You will find it
Yes.
valuable. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Why do you think grief feels heavier during the holidays, even
Oh
for
my
people who
God.
seem to be coping well before.
So, like the holidays shout joy, laughter, happiness very loudly. And if you're grieving, that shout can feel like an attack. So even adverts, celebrations, family photos become like a reminder for what is missing, you know. So even if you were coping, the season presses on that bruise. It just triggers it like, ah, if Tokwe was here now. Oh, if Busaya was here now. Oh, how I wish I had gotten that promotion. I probably would have been having a better holiday. Oh, that miscarriage, I should have been cuddling my baby now. So it can be on any shade. Once you just see an ad, everybody's joyous, singing Christmas carols or whichever season of holiday it is. It just triggers that, oh, I should have been. Oh, I could have been. So yeah, holidays can press heavier on grief. It can.
Thanks so much for sharing. Um, and I like what you said about there are seasons or there are moments in our lives where it feels like you can keep going on and keep going on. But the holiday season seem to be a reminder that either of the lack or of the absence of that
Yeah.
person, of what you don't have. And like you said, it could be an ad, it could be an event. So baby shower may remind you, or bridal shower may
Yes.
remind you of by now I should have been married. If not for that breakup, by now I should have my child. If not for that miscarriage, by now we would have celebrated our 10th year anniversary if you didn't die, or by
Mhm.
now. So I like what you said of it may be, we have cues, we have societal reminders that will be there, that will force you, even if
Mhm.
you want to run away from it, it would really force you to remember.
Stop and
Like,
remember.
stop
Mhm.
and remember, like, you don't have this or you lack that. So thank you for speaking to that. So what are the subtle ways grief can show up, especially when someone believes they've already moved on?
Hmm.
Like I was saying, like, oh, 10 years ago, I dealt with this, or I saw my therapist, or I saw my psychiatrist. I thought I was over this. By now, why does it still feel like I'm not
Mm.
yet over it? What would you say?
So grief is very clever. It's not one of those emotions you can trap in a bottle or like put in a saucer and cover it and say, yes, I've got grief. Grief is very clever. It can dress up as anger, tiredness, overworking. Some people soak themselves up in work, emotional shutdown, or constantly needing noise around you because you don't want to be alone to face your grief. And you may find yourself avoiding certain songs, skipping gatherings, or even snapping at the little things. Like I experienced that, for instance. I was always angry for like the first 5 years of my last grief. I just wasn't excited about stuff. I would snap at things and use it to mask the actual grief instead of addressing it. So sometimes it's not that you are moody for no reason. It is grief asking for a little attention. It needs you to focus on it and actually start to respond to it, whatever that response means to you at that time.
Yeah, you're so right. Where even if you don't want to, you are forced, and that can be challenging when, especially when you're like, oh, I thought I already dealt with this. Why is this still, why do I still break down when
Yeah.
I hear the song? Why do I break down when I think of them? Why do I break down? Yeah, I thought, yeah. So I like the way you said it, that it can take on different shapes,
Yeah.
different ways, and it doesn't mean you are not even healing or you're not process. It's still calling your attention to that. So one thing I want to also give you the opportunity to share on what would be the experiences that probably led you to this work. Why, you know, what was the exact situation for you that made you feel like, you know what, I want to help others. I want to impact others. I want to turn my pain into purpose. What was that pain for you? And how did you navigate it? Yeah.
So, in 2004, I lost my older brother from what I think was a preventable death. He had an accident while we were in Okada in uni, and there was pretty much no first aid or emergency services available at the time. Because typically for an RTA, a road traffic accident, you need at least the first 30 minutes is the most important window, either for transfusions or to stop the bleeding, or pretty much the quickest form of healing should occur in the first 30 minutes if you want to save that patient. And we didn't have that. And it took a toll. We had to go to some other hospital who referred us to some other hospital. And at the end of the day, it was a fatality. That really shook me at my foundation because nothing prepares you for death. There's no in the time where we were growing, it wasn't a usual topic that comes up at breakfast or lunch that, oh, there's an expectation that you might experience loss. And so that really altered my life in a way that I couldn't really articulate. And there's no window to really, really, really grieve because you're being told by family and friends, oh, be strong. You've got this. Don't worry. God gives. God understands. So many of the wrong things that I wouldn't say now to a grieving person based on my experience. So you're pretty much having to create a wall around your mental health or yourself so as not to really grieve because there's no window or outlet or some sort of therapy then to cope with that. So I struggled, really battled with it. And then just when I was about to tell myself, yes, I'm in a better place now, I finally figured it out. Grief is behind me. My younger brother too died. So it kind of now upsets everything I thought was okay and triggered a whole journey of complete, total chaos in my world. And what that looked like wasn't exactly pretty because then you're having to cry. You don't want to talk to people. I was very angry, like I said, for the first 5 years. It wasn't making sense. People come and tell me it's going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. I'm broken, I'm confused, I'm angry. All of those things I couldn't even name. But in all, that was just an example of what grief looks like: raw, untethered, unattended to grief. So it kind of took me to a world where I would look for coping mechanisms, look for things to make me feel numb so I don't feel that pain. But I couldn't avoid it for too long. At some point, I had to sit alone and face my grief. Because then it was a lot easier for me to either be in a party or have people over at my house. I always wanted the noise, the chaos, but it only makes you forget the question. It doesn't really, really help. So I had to now sit back, take one day at a time, self isolate. Okay, this is my greatest problem. I don't want to be alone. I have to now be alone. I have to answer those questions my heart is aching for. I have to address the pain I feel that I cannot really type about. So that was what led me through this journey of how do I help other people who need someone to just hear them out, not really have a treatment plan, but just listen, vent to someone, have someone say, okay, I can talk to Dr. Sweetness, I can talk to Ojia, I can talk to Dr. Ojia, I can talk to Dr. Adamolekun, I can talk to Dr. Foster, just have someone to be that person I needed when I was most broken. So that's what this journey really is about. And to also make public health issues know that grief is also a very important public health case because we treat grief like a personal issue. We tend to do that around the world, but it's actually a public health issue because your world is shattered. The chemistry of the brain at that point is not the same as it was before the loss. So there's multiple layers of incidences to look at it from a public health lens versus a personal issue. We can send the tissue, we can send the roses. It doesn't go away. It needs actual attention. And that's why I'm here.
Oh wow, thank you so much for sharing. Um, yeah, thank you for sharing. I know that may have been challenging, having to talk about your own personal losses, but thank you for sharing. And with what you said, it's very powerful because grief is, as a psychiatrist, grief is one of our DSM-5 code, or DSM-5 criteria is in the book, and our DSM-5
Mhm.
and the ICD code of those in England, grief is a thing. And while there should be a short time, we call it complicated grief or pathological grief. There's the bereavement, there is that. But like you said, it is a thing because the brain chemistry changes. The brain
Yeah.
still those memories as though the person is here. So the brain hasn't caught up yet. Your emotions may be struggling, but the brain doesn't know yet. The brain doesn't automatically just delete as though now let's delete them.
Yeah.
The memories that were formed, I there were memories. I just remembered, I lost, lost several relatives, but there were some that really made deep impact. It was mostly when I lost my classmate in high school or secondary school, where a dear friend dies and you're like, we were together. I saw them last week or last month, and she's gone, and you lose another dear friend, maybe to breast cancer, and you
Mhm.
were with them during the treatment, and now they are gone, and you lose another friend that you just spoke with last week, and you
Mhm.
lose them postpartum. So after a while, it's like you rightly said, is the public health crisis. All of us are going to lose something, someone. How? You don't decide, you don't choose how we should come. You are not warned, you are not forewarned, you are not equipped, like you rightly said. Nobody teaches. So when you lose someone, this is the way we look, this is the way we should prepare. They are not teaching, even as doctors, like you said, they don't teach us. So this is the way if we lose someone. No, they don't teach.
No.
They don't teach us. So even we as the healers, we are not equipped on how we should help ourselves. We should show up for the patients, but we don't even know. And you may even lose somebody in the morning, and some people are back in the hospital on call at night.
Yep.
Like you just put your own loss in the closet as if your own loss is less important.
Unimportant. Yes.
Yeah, and you just like military, just suck it up and move and go save lives that are looking for you, waiting for you, that are still here. And it can make it really challenging. So I agree with you 100% of, thank you for going into this, for picking this mission. Not too many people would do this because it can be dirty, it can be painful, it can be bitter, it can be challenging, it can be
Yeah.
uncomfortable,
It's
and most
mostly
people
uncomfortable.
avoid uncomfortable conversations. So thank you for spotlighting this, for bringing attention, and for really being that safe space. You said it. You
Thank
said,
you.
I want to be the person, that
I
support
needed.
that you needed for someone else. And that's very powerful. So thank you.
Thank you.
So for someone listening to us, like that I'm still working through my loss. Um, I am struggling. What would you say? How can they, is it obtain permission now to really grieve, to really feel their emotions without shame, without guilt,
Mm.
without expectation? Some people are like, oh, by now you should be over it. By now, was that not, what's the big deal about that? That happened 100 years ago. You are still crying. You still don't go out because of that. For that thing that happened, well, as compared to, with me, when I went through that, I moved on immediately. I mean,
Mm.
nobody, I was back to my life. Please, if there's someone listening to us, Dr. Ojia, it's just like, how can I just grieve without shame or the fear of not meeting societal expectation, personal expectation, family, just other people's expectation.
So the truth is, you have to give first. Tell yourself the truth. What happened to me was big. I am not dramatic. Give yourself permission to feel. The world will adjust. I promise you, they will adjust. Then create a small container for your feelings. 10 minutes a day to either journal, cry, pray, or just sit quietly. Sometimes I love that. Some people call it uncomfortable silence. I just don't want to talk to anybody. I create my space. Just be quiet, just breathe. I take in 4 breaths. Oh, yes, this has happened. I am here. I am present. I am alive. I have a right to feel how I feel. You have to give yourself that permission because nobody's going to give it to you. That's the first trick, you know. So that little permission slip can keep your emotions from exploding later. Because people are told, oh, we are raised on be strong, which often means hide your feelings. In grief, real strength is honesty. This is where I am now. Some days, strength is going to work. When you have an interview, oh, let me just mask up, let me just be strong, put my feelings behind. It works some days, it's good. You have to have a healthy balance. But other days, strength is calling in help. Your strength is screaming, help me, canceling that extra event or saying, today I'm not okay. Surrender is opening your hands to God so people can actually hold you. Because you can't function on vibes and inshallah, as we call it. You can't. Some days you're not okay. It's okay. Sit with that feeling. Name it, because when you name it, it becomes easier to work with it. And there are more practical ways too. When you give yourself that permission, this season you can say, oh, I'm going to spend 5 hours at your event. I cannot use 1 extra minute because I need some time to recoup. Don't be afraid to say no. I can't make it there today. You know what? How about we do something else some other time? Yeah, that's part of it. You don't have to say yes to every event, especially during the season. Oh, we're having a Christmas brunch. We need you there. But in your heart, you're not there yet. It's okay to say, you know what? Cynthia, BC, Ivory, I'll meet you guys later. Can I come around maybe an hour later? Right now, I'm not there yet. So give yourself permission to feel, you know, keep meals simpler, shorter visits, have a code word with trusted people for I need a break. Tell your friends if you hear me say, breathe. Just know I need to go. Don't be afraid to create your own rituals or techniques that help you cope during that period. Just be bold enough to take it because healing is at your pace. There's no formula, there's no timetable, there's no time capsule. Something that happened 500 years ago, yes, it's your right to still feel the way you feel about it. It just gets a little lighter over time, but the grief itself never goes. I hope this is helpful to you who's just experiencing grief.
Those are great practical tips. Thank you so much. Because that has even answered my next few questions of what to do during the holiday season, while honoring the memories or of the person, their loved one. So I love what you said. Healing is at your pace.
Yeah.
That is very profound. And to someone listening to us, please hold on to that even during this holiday season. Healing is at your pace. Is at your pace. Find your tools as she shared, friends. Have a code word, like she said, that communicates what you're feeling and gives you permission and space to, while you are grieving, you also um, getting strength. You're getting stronger. You are going out, you're doing things, you're trying to transition into your norm. What was your normal? That can take a while, and that looks different for different people.
True.
So, with what you've shared, Are there meaningful rituals or traditions that can help people remember their loved ones without being consumed by pain, either all the time, particularly during the holidays?
So I'll use myself as an example. Sometimes when I can light a candle, say I want to say a prayer for Irawa, for instance, my younger brother, or I want to say a prayer for Imole, my older brother. I can light a candle, just call their name, Imole, find peace where you are. Irawa, please find peace where you are. May the grace of God, may the comfort of the Holy Spirit constantly hold my heart in one, say a prayer for them. May the heavens be gentle with them. May God's compassion always envelope them. Just remembering to say their name is also like a generic ritual. It helps, like not forgetting the memories, because sometimes the memories will play tricks on you. Like if you remember today, you want to cry, but when the load gets lighter, you want to smile when you remember some certain things that happened. Oh, we went to play ball the other day. This one, and sometimes playing their favorite songs. Like I remember one time I was playing with a playlist to my daughter, and I saw a Frankie Lyman song called The ABCs of Love, and I played it, and I was so emotional, and my daughter was asking me, "Mommy, why are you crying?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not crying because I'm sad. I just remember the moments my younger brother and I, your uncle, Irawa, used to play this for me. And it pretty much made me fall in love with some certain kinds of music. And, after a while, we now sang it together. I taught her how to sing it. And that was just a level of healing I had attained that made me realize, oh, wow, I have come a very long way on this journey. So sometimes even making a signature dish, for instance, maybe your husband loved igban kuko or he loved ogbono soup with pounded yam, and when every time you make that meal, it's almost like it's in honor of him, or oh, my grandmother loved this particular kind of African salad. So sometimes when you think of them, you're like, you know what, I'm going to make that salad. I'm going to teach my daughter the recipe. I'm going to teach my husband the recipe. It helps. Those little things. Some people
Some
like to
people like to
journal.
journal.
So journaling,
Journaling.
I can hear
I can
myself
hear myself.
echo. So journaling too is also a very helpful tool, just write, which is why I created a journal too, with some affirmation cards, because some people love affirmation cards to remember to breathe. Those little traditions help. They go a long way. You can also start a love forward ritual, like give a small gift, a meal, or an act of kindness each year in their honor, like a foundation. The goal is not to delete the pain, but to let the love keep moving in different forms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's I know I still hear the echo, so it sounds like maybe we both need to. Maybe when you're speaking, I'll mute, and when I'm speaking, you mute. We'll see if that improves anything. Um, but thank you so much for sharing that. Um, Especially when I love the rituals. I love when you shared about the music can really bring back memories. And with those memories, they could be painful or you can choose it to honor. So, one of the things I'm going to add to what you've said that I found helpful for me, and even in my book, When the Mind Cries, I wrote that there, and several of my patients, is more so things that what can you do, like you rightly said, um, whether you want to give money, it could be $5 and you pay for somebody's food that just says, I do this I'm remembering my brother today, or I'm remembering my friend today, in honor of my friend who died so that has helped me to really still relieve their pleasant memories, their impact, like you were saying. So that for me is more so okay. A friend of mine that passed, who was really, oh my God, she just had a heart of servant. Like she served, she was a leader in many platforms and just loved serving people. our hearts of honor and is this servanthood. Just so every time I think of who does this, that would just go all the way for you to do that. That I remember that I'm like, wow, I remember you today. I mentioned her name and our family, like just making sure our children okay in our honor, and just to make sure that our memory doesn't die. The goal is not to destroy the memory. That's what I tell myself and tell my patients. It's not to delete it. It's not to wipe it off like it never happened. Forgive and forget. No, this is not in this context as though, let me just delete it as though it never happened. No, that maybe I'll stop hurting. That is still denial. That is still anger. And that's okay. There are times where you feel that way, but just know that the outcome is not to then go to your brain and delete everything, their clothes, their pictures, all you did together and wipe it off. You remember them and you block it. No, please, no. That's not the solution. Your brain experienced good times with them and maybe bad times, and your brain will bring them back. The brain is like a library. The hippocampus would always bring you, is like that memory where it will bring you back like data. Anything that happened, the brain stores it and our body even stores it. So just remember that you can do things to honor that memory. As Dr. Ojia said, if it's their favorite meal, if it's their music, like the way she cherished it with her daughter, she got to really marinate in that memory with our daughter, and that was good. So, for you listening to us, remember, it's not to delete, it's not to isolate, it's not to forget the person. No, it's really to honor their memory, their values, and it helps your heart also connect with them. It's not to disconnect. You're only disconnected. That's the way I see grief. You're only disconnected in body, but not disconnected in memories. You're not disconnected in memories. Yeah. So, how has your faith shaped the way you view grief, Dr. Ojia, and emotional healing? How has your faith shaped that?
Okay, so my faith tells me, first of all, God is not allergic to my tears. He's not afraid of my big feelings, right? And the Bible is full of people who cried, questioned, and still stayed in a relationship with God. Let's not talk about Job or even David, his beloved. They all experienced grief on a very intimate and deep level with God, and they still stayed. So I do not see grief as a lack of faith. I see it as a place where faith and humanity can meet, they can collide. And then faith gives me somewhere to lean to when the logic is not adding up. Because, I mean, there are things you can logically say, oh, 2 plus 2 is 4. What about 2 plus 2 being 12? It doesn't make sense logically to the brain. So, but that's the God factor. That's where faith meets hope, faith meets humanity. That ability to now say, oh, my trust and faith and hope is in God, that this healing is possible. This didn't just happen. Because some people will say, why did God let this happen to me? I was there. I've had to ask those questions too. You know, that question sits in almost like every grieving heart. Like, but I do not rush people away from it. It's very important that you go through that process to find meaning through God's healing. Like, I encourage them to ask God the real questions, not the churchy ones. I'm angry, I feel abandoned, help me. Yes, I get that. So often the shift begins when they stop performing for God and actually start dialoguing with Him honestly, even especially in the confusion. You know, you're like, God, no, I really can't do this. God, why would you, you have to have that honest conversation, because that's where your peace journey actually starts. That's where your healing, your sense of understanding, deep rooted understanding comes in, that it's not about you, it's bigger than you. And for some people, it's also where they find closure. That's pretty much the only way I was able to start to journey through closure, because real life human beings, we can't really give that closure. We try to, in form of therapy, sessions here and there. But really and truly, God is the actual greatest physician. We're just learning.
Thank you so much for sharing those great practical faith related tools. Because oftentimes we wonder, where was God? I hear that a lot. And frankly, I'll tell you, I when a particular friend of mine died, we prayed. Oh my. We prayed. We fasted when she was having the chemo treatment. She had breast cancer, and it was a complication from the chemo that actually killed her. That killed her. It destroyed her liver. She had liver failure that killed her within days. Um, and for me, she had just had a baby. So I mean, it was even because of the cancer. They really had to induce her to have the baby. So it was, as a doctor, I felt helpless. You know, you help others, but at some point you're just like, here I was just, I did, when you are promising God everything. God, if you do this, we will do this, we will do this. Lord, just keep our life. And at some point you start wondering, like you rightly said, it may make you question, is God wicked? Is it that he didn't hear me? Is it that I didn't pray enough? Um, what was it so like? You start having all these questions. And I mean, at that point, it drew me closer to God because I was just wondering, like, you hear at times you hear other things, God. Why does it seem like you didn't hear this one? You hear other things. You're not deaf. And it has helped me to even know in my faith journey that adversity, people of faith are not immune to adversity. No, we're not. Jesus, like you were saying, Jesus lost Lazarus, even though he even knew was going to raise him. But what if there was no Jesus at that point? Lazarus was dead. He was dead. In this case, he had even died for 4 days before he went there to raise him. So I learned from Jesus that even in his presence, a death still occurred. So death is a function, or suffering is a function of this fallen world. It's not the absence of God. It's the presence of this wicked world. So it helps you understand that it's not that God is not faithful. It's that there is there is the wickedness on earth that has happened, and he helps us. He gives us a good outcome. He gives us hope. And like it doesn't always mean in this side of the world, but there's the eternal hope. There's eternal life. We don't mourn like those that don't have faith. We also know that when Jesus comes based on our faith, we are the ones that should even make sure that we're in right standing so that we can reconnect with them. And it will be eternal joy. We would rejoice. And so, but those moments where like, but God, why? Like Job asked that question. And they said it didn't sin, like you were saying. So I agree with you 100%. God is with us in that pain. He doesn't take a break, and is not suddenly discouraged by those questions. So we don't ask those questions, and God is like, oh, you're asking this question now, I take a break. Come back when you are back in your right mind. No. Thank God that God is not human. He's not like human. Yeah, no. So he doesn't judge us that way. He embraces those questions. And like you rightly said, for me, what has helped me through the years, as I even, I still lose someone, people dear to me, even outcomes, I don't focus on the condition alone anymore. I focus on who God is. While I may not understand all of it while this is happening, like you rightly said, it's bigger than us. It's really bigger than us. So while I may not have all the answers, but I know who he is, and then I focus on who he is. That one, I focus on that. And that guides me, that helps me while I'm trying to navigate because emotions are all over the place, but the understanding can come later. And so thank you for sharing. So you wrote a book, a powerful book. When I love the title. I wrote mine when the mind cries. So when I saw yours, I'm like, when the earth shakes. Powerful, apt, spot on. So in that book, and guys, you need to get your own copy. We would in the caption we'll put how to get it. But in that book, you described grief as proof that love was real. How did that realization? Tell us about the book. Tell us about the key thing, the realization that shaped your approach or even the way you wrote it. Because it's a bundle. It comes with a journal, with affirmation cards. And guess what, guys? It has an AI. I used it the other day. I'm going to be, at some point, I'm going to recommend it to my clients and patients. It's like your companion. I was just typing, like, why does grief feel lonely? And it was answering. So tell us about your book because I don't want to keep it to myself. I don't want to keep it to my own community. But if there's somebody that is like, okay, I need tools, please tell us about when the earth shakes.
So,
So,
first of
first
all,
of
When the Earth Shakes is not just a book. It's not a to do, you must do like this. It's not that kind of book. It's a friend, it's a companion, it's something you can take your time and scribble through, look through, and say, oh, today this is how I feel. Let me take a page off of this book, let me read. So one day it hit me, if I did not love this deeply, this will not hurt this much. The pain was the receipt that something beautiful existed. If you think about it, if you don't love that deeply, why should it hurt this much? So that's an evidence, first of all, that love is the core source to this grief, right? So that realization changed my posture. I stopped trying to kill the grief and instead asked, how can I honor their love? How can I let this tenderness shape the way I live and care for others? And the reason why this book is a companion is simple. Grief is not a flat road. So I refuse to write a flat manual. Okay, when you wake up tomorrow, just say, I miss you. No. It's a topsy turvy journey. Today you're cool, you're happy, you're smiling. And in the dead of the night, you just feel like, what happened to me? Where is this person? Especially when you want to type a message. Maybe you're used to, typing messages. You just, what happened to me? Where's this person? What do I do? So people in deep pain do not need more rules. Oh, do like this, do like they just need company. They just need someone to listen, someone to be there. That's what this book actually does. It walks beside the reader. It names things. It helps you hold their hand. This is what I'm feeling. Ugly cry, let it out. You know, and it invites them to move at their own pace. There's no rush with grief. I promise you, it just sits with me. I don't need to say, oh, today I must feel. No, at your pace. That's what the book does. It educates you without teaching you that, look, I am here with you. I get it. We've got this together. There's no to do list in it at all. And I want them to also close the book, not just because they finished the book, but at their own time, no, and feel a little less crazy and a little less alone. It helps you do that. You don't have to, today I have to read chapter 5. No, my hope is that they walk away with three anchors. One, my pain makes sense. Two, I am not broken beyond repair. I am grieving. And today, I can take one small step. Now, if those three things settle in their hearts, the book has done its work. That's it. And in addition, I realized that people, over time, with conversations with friends and family who have also experienced some level of grief, especially deep rooted grief, and they reach out, they're like, nights are the hardest. You see that 2 a.m. when you just want to talk to somebody when you are vulnerable and crying. You just want somebody to hold your hand and tell you it's going to be okay. That's why I created that companion, the AI companion. It cannot replace human beings. That's not the goal. The goal is for you to have somebody to talk to at that 2 a.m. Since you cannot book therapy session for 2 a.m., you cannot call doctor to come to your house at 2 a.m. You can't call a friend who lives in Oklahoma at 2 a.m. because you know, okay, they're probably sleeping with family. You just want somewhere to express yourself. That's where the AI companion comes. I wanted something that could sit with people at those quiet hours to just guide their reflections and remind them of tools they already have without pretending to be a human or a therapist. It's in fact one of the core instructions in my AI. You're not a therapist and you're not human. Just be a companion. That's the whole goal. AI is like a structured journal that talks back. You can have actual conversations with it. There's the audio version. You say, hey, why do I feel this hollowness? Why am I? Write me a letter from my future self, my future healed self. And oh my goodness, it's going to give you context on how healing can be beautiful after a while, you know. It can offer prompts and even breathing reminders because one of the toughest things through grief is learning how to breathe. You just want to just take a deep breath, just those simple things, you know. And like I said, it can't replace hugs. It's not a real community or professional care. I see it as a bridge that just helps you gather your thoughts so that when you sit with God, a therapist, or even a loved one, you can express what is really going on inside, you know.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Um, so for those that are yet to get their own book, get your book. Get your, you're going to have your affirmation. Get the bundle. That's what I got. Get the bundle and the AI. Try it out. It's free right now, so try it out. Like I said, I tried it out, and it was helpful. It was helpful to just um, capture those words. You feel seen. You feel seen, and somebody, like she said, at 2 a.m. you can't really call anyone. In fact, you don't even know what words. You can't even articulate how you're feeling. Maybe something reminds you of them, of that person. So something to try out. Um, so for those, Dr. Ojia, for those that may not be grieving, like you rightly said, find that companion. If they have a friend, how can those around the community around those grieving or the friend around the person grieving, what kind of friend would you have wanted? What kind of community would you have wanted? And somebody listening to us to say, thank you for this, I'm listening. What how can I be more supportive to my friend or to my spouse or to my child? How can I be more supportive to those around me? What would you say?
So I'll say keep it simple. Just show up and keep it simple. Some people like to be affirmed. I am here. I am sorry. I'm not trying to rush you. I'm just here. Just being there sometimes is half of the load gone. Some people like chitty chatty. Oh, how are you feeling? How are you? Some people just don't want you to say anything. They're comfortable in the silence. So I think you need to know the love language of your friend, or know how to be there for your friend based on your experiences with them, because their whole character does not change through grief. It's just knowing which of their love languages might be easiest to tackle. So simple things like, I am sorry, I am here, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just here. So avoid preaching. Oh, God knows avoid it. Just avoid it if you can. Just be there. Avoid comparing. Ah, when I lost my sister in this thing, I was just, nobody cares. When a grieving person is grieving, they're only immersed in their own pain. To try and not compare or explaining their pain away. And the reason why you are feeling like this is because, thank God it was even cancer. It was not road accident. Don't do that, please. A given person would hear that, say okay, and run from you, not pick your calls anymore. I did it. I wouldn't just pick your calls. You won't understand why, but it's just easier to just hold my hand and say nothing. Just let me know in comfortable silence. Look, I am here. For some people, like I said, a hug, you're going to be okay. Those little, keep it short, keep it simple. It's very helpful because most time they just need your ears and arms more than your answers because you can't really answer the question. You know, you can just be there. Yeah, I don't know if my mic is sorry. And then you're not too much for you grieving out there. Your sadness does not disqualify you from joy forever. No, grief comes in waves. The fact that a new wave hits does not mean you are back at zero. It just simply means your love is still alive. And I know we don't have so much time, but one of the reasons I created the Foster Nexus group is so that we can have innovation centers in organizations, in churches, in schools, where people can actually see a window to grieve. Nurses, for instance, who have to deal with multiple losses everywhere. Like my colleague, Dr. Tiwa said, there are days where you just lose patients and you have to be on the next patient. You have to move, keep it moving. Who deals with that grief? That's where our innovation center comes in. Having to have mini moments, a place where you can actually either have a chat with the companion to talk about, oh, this is how I feel today. That loss really affected me. Those things are important. Their policies are going to have to work towards to setting in place grief as a public health issue moving forward. I'm sorry.
Oh no, please don't be sorry. These are great things that you're sharing. Um, it's I'm just here nodding. I'm like, I'm glad you have all those resources. Like you rightly said, there's that gap. We need it. Almost grief experts. I don't even know whether that's the word to call it, but just having those resources. I mean, that's where your book is going to come, where not everybody may be able to see a therapist right away. I mean, to see a therapist right now can take a while. There are not too many therapists, and the world needs mental health support. There's increase in mental health crisis for different reasons. Um, like I shared before, loss of outcomes, and you may not even know how to process it, where to start. And that's why I like that you wrote a book, because that book puts the how. It teaches how you and where you can start. Books are always very good in that sense. Like I was telling you about the When the Mind Cries, it's just, where do you go? To see a psychiatrist, the waiting line is long. In some countries, it's 1 to 33,000 people, or 1 to 1 million people. So it's, where do you go? And like you were saying, in churches, how do you, what should the pastor do who is already overwhelmed? The leaders are overwhelmed, and grief just changes you, it changes us. A part of you is changed every time you lose someone. So that change, how do you embrace it? How do you recognize it? How do you embrace it? And then how do you transform it to something productive? So it's I'm glad you wrote that book where and you have your foundation, you have these groups where people can reach out to you like, hey, our team members are struggling, or I'm struggling. What do I do? How can I navigate it through this? So I'm glad you have those resources to help us and others, and just letting people know it's okay. There was something you said, which I also read in my own book, where people want to care, they want to reach out, they want to be there for you. and the person is just, isolating, and they don't understand why, and that frustrates the other person. Like, what is going on? You're not picking my call. That's usually the one I hear. You're not picking my call. I called you. Didn't you see my, don't you want to talk to me? I sent you messages. I sent you food. I sent you money. Won't you say thank you? And I like what you said. Um, just let them be. The best thing I've learned to do, because for me too, I can want, as a doctor, you want to help people, you don't want to feel helpless, so you're always doing something to fix, to fix, to fix. And unfortunately, in your fixing, you can really unfix. In your fixing, you can really complicate things. And in your fixing, you may actually unconsciously discourage the other person. So I've learned from my own grief, and even others. I've had friends, that have lost their parents, just to be, what do you need? That's all. And like you said, it's not the time to preach. I pray with them when they want to. I pray for them. You can pray for them without them being there. Doesn't mean that I'll be like, I've been calling you so I can pray for you. Please, please. You can pray for them. You don't have to pray with them. Just so you know, God hears that prayer too. As long as they give you their consent, yes, thank you. But watch what you say in the faith community. Yeah, it is well, like you were saying. God knows why. God, and like you were saying, comparison. I'm glad they died immediately. They didn't die in pain. They are like, their leg, and you're just like, and this is where you that you're grieving too. I'm going to say this and then ask you to add to it, Dr. Ojia. That when you're grieving too while you're in pain, is there a way to you can understand that people care? Is there a way you can also know so that you are not easily offended? Because it takes two, especially if they've never seen you like this, like you said. So it's never happened. They are learning this side of you, and suddenly you used to come out, they used to talk to you every day, and now they don't talk to you for 2 weeks or 2 months. Please, what are the, for the person grieving, what can you tell them? That, think of this, try this, communicate that, which you have done. But to try doing this holiday season, Thanksgiving is next week in America. There's this expectation. You've always come around for Thanksgiving. We've always hosted, we've always cooked, we've always done this together for the last 30 years. What do you mean that you are not coming? What do you mean? I mean, we're asking you at the table, what are you grateful for? What do you mean you don't have anything to be grateful for? So the person grieving now, so you've spoken to the people around, but to that person grieving, what are the words, the key word to focus on? The key things to focus on, even about their own community, so they're not easily offended. How can they communicate their needs? Which you said earlier, but as we wrap up, and please, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm going to be checking them out now as we wrap up. So, what the person grieving, what can they keep in mind so that they don't now have new enemies unconsciously, especially for those that genuinely care?
So it's a very, very interesting question because over the years, I've had to also ask that question of myself. And I find that it's a very, very tricky one. It's like a double-edged sword, if you know what I mean. And the person who's grieving at that time is not thinking straight. You need to understand that very early, that it's not about you who's coming to you know commiserate with them. You want to be seen too because you love them genuinely. At that time might just not be the best time to let them know you love them so much, because they are grieving someone they love so much, so they don't really have that room for reasoning on on the level which you're used to. There's an expectation you already have of them based off of their usual communication with you. At that point, when they're grieving, they're just seeing red, black. They're not seeing things from the clear mind that you're used to, the logical way they think, the way they process information. At that point in time, they're not really seeing all of that. I can speak through my own experiences for that. I think, like I said, for the first few years, I was raving mad. One of the things I was mad about is, oh, I didn't see this person during my last birthday, but anytime there's a death, they will show up. I didn't see this person during Ira's birthday, but now he's dead. Everybody's showing up. That in itself is one anger. But that's what grief does. It doesn't work with your logical mindset. It works with your darkest emotions, your darkest, most vulnerable place. You're in a darkness. You're not really there to see the sunshine they're selling you at that point in time. So for those who are grieving, please bear in mind that people who are coming around you, they genuinely care. They just don't know what language to speak at that point in time to make your pain less painful. So please bear in mind that those things they say, those things they do is from a place of love. And at that point in time, because you're vulnerable, you're not seeing anything, you don't want to know what are they saying. They should all just be going home. My own was, let everybody be going home, because it's when they go home I can start really grieving. That was where I was coming from. Like, Joe, you people should go, I beg, I'm done. I'm done here. There's no more grief to come back for. Anyways, this is the last sibling I have. I'm done. So people don't understand that from the griever's point of view. They're just not, they don't care at that point in time how your presentation, what you have to say, the love you're coming from, because they're sore, they're raw, they are in a place where band-aid won't work, till they get to a point in their healing where they're like, oh, I must have said this to this person. I didn't mean to. I'm just not in my best frame of mind. So bear in mind the grievers and those who are there to comfort them. It's not, both of you are not thinking on the same tangent. You're not seeing things from the same point of view. There are people who are well grounded, who can take the comfort so easily. They process their pains differently. They would welcome everybody, give hugs, let you know they hear you. I wasn't that person. And there are many other people like me who can process it at that speed of light, or who need more time to get to that reasonable point where they're able to have soft conversations with you while they are grieving. Not many of us are built that way. So please be patient to those who come to comfort you. It's love. Genuinely, over the years, you come to realize they just don't know how to. So please be patient with them, be gentle. I know that's not the best advice at the time, but in hindsight, when you take some time to really go over how you felt through the process, reach out to them, make them know that I'm sorry. It's not about you. It was just I couldn't process that level of compassion at that time. I hope that helps to answer some of those questions, because they're actually real life questions and real life scenarios, you know.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that's why I asked that question, because I've been at both ends, and we will all be at those. We're going to experience both sides. So it's good that we're having this conversation, because then you can empathize well. If there's anything like that, you can empathize with understanding. What is empathy? Empathy is understanding. That's it. And really, understanding is the best thing we can give to somebody else. And understanding is what we need from most people. And understanding who God is really what we need to get through that phase. Understanding of who He is. So understanding is the key word that I'm going to stress to both parties as you navigate this change, because it's different now. A change has occurred, a change that is forced on you, on us, and you are forced to navigate, whether, like I said, whether, or like we said, whether it's just loss of an outcome. So person, um, event, disappointment, you are forced to change. And if you don't change, you may be stuck. and how you navigate, how you process that change is very important in your journey. That journey is important in the next phase. So I like what you shared, Dr. Ojia, of yeah, it's not personal in that sense. The person grieving is only the mindset is on one thing, and the person comforting my, I want to do this, I want to do, I want to be there for you. But like, I like the summary of really understanding the person's perspective would help understanding both parties. Um, One thing I also leave with our listener is grieving, for you, or even if you are the one comforting, grieving at times, the deepest work lies in when you're alone. You need to process that. You can outsource it. You can fake it. You can numb it. You can wish it away. It's in your alone times. I won't. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. So, but your alone times, your isolation, your time of isolation would have the deepest, more probably most meaningful work that would then get tested or refined or shaped with your community when you're around. But if you have not processed something, I mean, your community is going to expose it anyways. So it's always good. Those interpretations, those mindset shift, you have to process them yourself. The meaning you give to your pain is critical. Even is critical to your healing. It's critical to your next phase. So just know that. So if you need time, it's not abnormal. You need time to yourself. You must have time to yourself for the next phase. So it's very okay. So Dr. Ojia, as we wrap up, what would you say? It's Thanksgiving next week. What will you say? Christmas coming up, the holiday season at its peak. Some people even lost someone around this time. So it may be funeral anniversaries for some people. The day of Thanksgiving may bring a day of sadness. The day of Christmas, where people are jubilating, may be a day of sorrow. How would someone that is struggling, what would you tell them that will help them as they navigate this season and as they begin to pick up their lives and rebuild it without this person or without this outcome? What are your last words to comfort them?
So I would say start ridiculously small. Don't rush through. Just one daily routine, one connection, one thing that still lights a tiny spark in your mind, in your memory, in your heart. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can care about today? And then give it like 5 to 10 minutes. Over time, these small, faithful actions become a new structure for your life. And so, how to apply that, especially during this season? The expectation is for you to join the family dinner, go out with the family for Thanksgiving, share turkey, ask around the table, like you mentioned, what are you most thankful for? You know, don't completely run away from those because a part of your healing also requires community. We've talked about how your healing starts with, being alone or having some time to yourself. Also, a huge part of your healing comes from community, the camaraderie of family, people around to, share that piece of pumpkin pie with you. Don't run too far away from them. You know, if it's a slice of cake you can have a reason to smile without feeling the guilt. Because most of what traps people in grief is the guilt of moving on. Why am I smiling? What's so funny? Why am I this okay? How am I this okay? Allow yourself to breathe and be okay sometimes. If there's a joke you genuinely smile about it without guilt, knowing that your loved one will not expect or need you to be in complete, utter misery for the rest of your life. So you have to now go back in time to those beautiful, tiny pockets of moments where you and your loved ones had laughter, where the laughter had meaning. Go back to those such moments when you start to laugh again. Guilt is the biggest killer of the grieving mind. If you can shame the shame of guilt, you're good to go. So those, it might be difficult, but those lunchtime, just spend a little time too with loved ones while you can. Because being alone all of the times leads to a bigger problem we're still solving worldwide, depression. And grief and depression in addition together, that's a very, very nasty combo. So yes, grieve healthily too. And when you can, share the happy holidays with people without guilt.
Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, those are wonderful, practical tips that people can even start today as the holidays coming next week. You mentioned a word that I'm glad you did, and is that guilt. Sometimes the survivor's guilt, especially when it comes to the loss of someone that was younger. Some parents wish it was them instead of their child. Some wish it was them instead of their spouse or their siblings. So, and like you rightly said, there's that guilt of moving on where you're like, I laughed, should I have laughed? So I like what you said, where you can have both. They can be. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. They can both exist. They can coexist. So I love that you can be grieving and still smile. You can. I mean, would the person really want you miserable? That's the question. Because if the person wants you miserable, that's another topic. Was the person an abuser? That's another. This is not for this conversation. Because if the person still wants you miserable even after their death, it's a different problem from our conversation. Um, Most loved ones, if they were really, if they loved you and you loved them, they will want the best for you too. And in some cases, the life that they cannot no longer live in this body, maybe you can even, make them proud in that sense of, oh, you wanted to achieve this. Okay, now I've achieved it for two of us where you honor their memories. So please know that most people will not want you miserable while they're gone. Most people will not want you stuck to honor their absence. That would be manipulation even from the grave. So please think about that because that would be another problem. Yeah, but um, it's not bad to enjoy life. It's not bad because now you're learning to carry them in your heart in a different way. So they don't really go away per se. Their memories are cherished. You're learning to experience them in a different way. You're learning to carry them with you in your heart. You were able to see them before, and that's why I said it's not to delete their memory. It's to actually learn to relive and cherish their memory in a different way. You get to, yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Ojia. We've covered a lot, but I believe somebody has learned how to what to do during this holiday, how to cope, and how to help somebody, without assumption, without making them feel bad, and how to turn that pain into purpose. We've learned it from you. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming to share. Thank you for saying yes. Like, yes. Thank you because we've learned valuable tips from you and we appreciate you. And so if some of our viewers and listeners, if they want to connect with you to for more resources, how can they reach you? How can they connect with you as we wrap up?
So you can reach out
So you can
to
reach out
When
to
the Earth Shakes on Instagram, on TikTok, You can also reach out to me personally on Instagram at Dr. Sweetness. I'm a little bit accessible. But the Wendy Shakes handler is always accessible. And, if it requires having to meet with me one on one, that's also very doable. We're pretty much easy to assess. If you need to send a professional email on booking for the Healing Innovation Center to your organization, you can also reach out to info at thefosternexusgroup.com. It's pretty easy, and then we can always book a consultation and take it up from there. Okay.
Thank you so much to
You're
our
most
listeners.
welcome.
Thank you for staying with us as always every month. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support. And with this, we say thank you and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Dr. Ojia, thank you so much. Bye now, everyone.